he wrote 3/4 of a page about the last 2 days of her life, ending with a description of how, before she quitted her sister's house, she put out what money she had and left it in her bedroom, and in this state, without a sixpence in her pocket, she wandered about till Tuesday morning, the day on which, it is to be feared, she put an end to her existence. She was seen at Beer walking very fast up Common Lane between 3 and 4 o'clock, and about 5:15 o'clock she was discovered in the water by one John Parrott, a carpenter. When you read such passages, the world they create doesn't quite chime with our picture of the Regency, the fine houses, the costumes and the carriages. But of course, country churchyards, horse-riding accidents, and young women in a state of distress are also part of the period. And every detailed entry in Thomas Puddicombe's burial register raises questions. Was it usual for people to pare their toenails with a penknife in 1790? Were riding accidents like Joseph Hook's common? As for poor Jane Toulmin, did people in the 1790s have an understanding of mental illness? You won't find the answers in the pages of a Jane Austen novel, yet they are as revealing of the real world in which she lived as the complex interplay of the characters in her books. Mr. Puddicombe's descriptive burial register entries abruptly come to an end in 1812. From then on, he was officially prevented from composing them. This was not because he had done anything wrong, but because in that year the government imposed a printed form for recording the details of a burial. Each page consisted of a series of boxes in which the officiating minister was required to write the deceased's name, age, place of residence, and date of burial, and nothing else. This shift from effusive individualism to government-imposed standardization is indicative of wider changes. For many people in the 1860s, the Regency seemed like the last age of true freedom before the regulation of society started in earnest. The Great Reform Act of 1832 signalled the beginning of the end of the political domination of the aristocracy and landed gentry. In 1833, the Factory Act set limits on the number of hours that children could work each day. That same year, slavery was abolished throughout the British colonies. In 1834, the gibbeting of murderers came to an end. The once common sight of public executions became rare as abolitionists argued against the death penalty with increasing success. Cruel sports such as cockfighting and bear-baiting were outlawed in 1835. The compulsory state registration of births, marriages and deaths began in 1838. The standardization of the screw thread by Joseph Whitworth was introduced in 1841, paving the way for mass production. From the mid-1840s, the telegraph enabled messages to be sent instantly over long distances. Trains replaced the regular mail coaches and stagecoaches, rendering highwaymen a thing of the past. Photography started to rival painting as the most common means of recording scenes and portrait images. On top of all these things, a new morality swept across society in the early Victorian period, limiting people's freedom of behaviour. Attitudes to adultery, gambling, and unpaid debts especially hardened. You can see why those who looked back from the 1860s saw their Regency forebears as an unfettered and wild bunch, among whom Lord Byron was not the only man who was mad, bad, and dangerous to know. It had been a time when gentlemen and ladies, beggars and clergymen, soldiers and tramps, employers and courtesans could all pretty much behave as they saw fit in a world that gleamed with gold and heroism, drink and sex, excitement and opportunity. Our own impressions of the years from 1789 to 1830 are not that different. Today, the period is still seen as a time of exuberance and unchecked bad behaviour. Indeed, we consider the conduct of the upper classes to have been particularly immoral, on account of the self-indulgence of the Prince Regent and his companions. The inscription on the ancient Greek temple